Well, shooters and reloaders out there, Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone. And I've been asked a lot of questions about what I think about the new California gun laws that are so restrictive on gun owners. Well, the purpose of the Hot Lead Zone is not to get into politics, but to talk about the shooting sports and what they entail. So we're not going to really get into all the political debates, but let's look at what happened. What you have in California is a lot of legislators who represent their districts, and they came up with all these gun control laws because that's what their districts want. And it got out of Sacramento legislature because of the fact that there's more of those legislators that are pushing the gun control bills than there are those that are trying to defend gun rights. So as you know, the Hot Lead Zone goes into looking at things in a way that you don't normally see in other YouTube videos. Well, let's go deeper into this legislation and see exactly what the goals are. Because if you look at the long-range goals, you have short-range tactics and long-range strategies, this kind of thing. And here's something that hasn't been pointed out, and that is magazine ban. That's what this bill, SB 1446, that came out of Berkeley, is all about. Banning large capacity magazines. And so after July 1st, 2017, this is passed into law now, all owners, even the ones that legally grandfathered to own large capacity magazines, must get rid of them, divest themselves of them. And here are the options that are presented for those owners of large capacity magazines. Now, of course, the ones that were grandfathered legal to have those magazines that were completely within the law, after this one date, the next day, they're criminals if they don't do these things. And of course, there's a lot of outrage over that because they're being forced to do something when they really haven't done anything wrong. Here are the goals and long-range strategies. Number one, remove the large capacity magazine from the state. Now this is important. The other ones, get rid of it by selling them, which is another way to not cheat the gun owner of those magazines. At least they get money back, might not be much. Destroy the large capacity magazine. Force to just take a valuable thing and just destroy it. Or turn them in to law enforcement for destruction. Now this law was passed under the guise of public safety, but it's not going to do anything about public safety, and it's not about crime control, because it's really about people control or mind control. Now you're not going to control the criminal because the criminals don't obey any law, and you're not going to control the weirdo because weirdos are going to be smart enough to get around any law to do their weirdness. You cannot protect a society from weirdness or criminal by any kind of law like this. So what this law is really saying is if you don't like this law, then get your magazines out of state, and while you're at it, get yourself out of the state too. And if you do that, that's what they really want. So we've seen this all too often before, and that is once a law is passed to ban something, then that leads to a cascade of further laws that will be on top of what they passed before. An incremental approach, so to speak. So, for example, you have a whole group of California shooters that will not comply with this law. They don't turn them in, they just keep their magazines in a secret place. Well, to get compliance, they're going to make another law that will make it an accessory if you know someone who has a high capacity magazine and you don't turn them in. So there's going to be family members turning in other family members, friends turning in friends, because to not do so will cause severe penalties on that person that doesn't turn them in. And of course, since the magazines are bad, the guns that use the magazines must also be bad by logic. So eventually, you'll see more restrictions, perhaps causing the ARs or AKs to require to have fixed magazines welded in place, and then eventually ban those also. And on top of that, then you pass a law that requires background checks to buy ammunition, and that's law-abiding citizens that have to do that. Now, how is that going to affect the criminal, or how is that going to affect the weirdo? This kind of thing, how's that going to increase public safety or crime control? It won't. It just makes law-abiding citizens criminalized, because now a database is going to be required to keep track of everybody. So eventually the law-abiding gun owner is going to wind up tossing their hands in the air out of frustration and say, I've got to leave the state. And again, that's the whole idea. And that is the idea of getting rid of the deplorables. Because the people that are aimed at this kind of law are the deplorables. And that has come out in plain expression recently. If you get rid of all the deplorables, that makes the state richer in the people that think the same way that the legislators want. You control the districts, control the people, you control the state, you control the nation, and you have power. Power that is established. So that's the whole idea. Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming to you from Hot Lead Zone. Bye for now.